All right, Moody, what's good? We are back. Episode 2. 2 consecutive weeks. Is that a
Yep,
streak?
it
What's considered a
is.
streak? Is
Hey,
2
and
a
it's
streak or
actually
is it
two
3?
streaks if you think about it, because now this is the on-time streak. We're starting it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. On
So,
time, on time for black people because we still like 10 minutes late. But yeah, it's still on
exactly,
time.
but we on time. Fuck it, I don't care. 15
um,
minute sway on either direction. Like, that's just the way it is.
yeah. All right. So let's get into our Percy's, and I'm gonna throw this up to see who goes first. So who has a Do you have a Percy that can lead into the show?
I'd
If
say
not, if not, it doesn't matter. We'll just coin flip on who wants to go
I'd
first.
say no. Yeah.
I think I usually go first, so I'll let you go first.
Okay. This time, well, I know you haven't watched it. Like, you were just over here chilling the other day.
Hmm.
But my Percy's was just about, the end of summer television that, I've been watching. The Boys is
Yep.
over and The Acolyte is over. The two things that I cared about the most besides Hot D, House of the Dragon, obviously. And watch them. I will say that. I know you already are, but I just mean that generally to our audience. It's good enough. Like, don't get me up
Yeah.
here I'm not putting them on a pedestal or anything, but like if you're already fans of these IPs of the Boys and like Star Wars, I think it's worth it. Granted, myself as like I would say a deep cut Star Wars fan, the Acolyte ain't hitting like that. You know what I'm saying? I think a
Yeah.
lot of people can see that. But if hopefully if a season 2 comes out, I'll be there regardless. So it doesn't really matter. But
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I'm 2 episodes behind on each of the Acolyte. The last 2 episodes for both Acolyte and the Boys. Not anything is not like I'm disinterested in them. I do think they're both like, well, Acolyte's only in its one season, but like the Boys, it feels like it's running a little bit on treadmills. Like almost kind of like you remember like the second to last season of Snowfall.
yep, exactly.
Kind of
That's
feels like
exactly
that.
what you're
It's like
talking
it's not
about.
bad, but I'm like, we need to get to the juice, right? So I'll pick those up definitely, probably today after we get off. I did see because I haven't heard any discourse on Alkalite since the finale. I think I looked at like IGN's like score review, and they gave it like a 7, but it seemed like they were pretty like on the up and up on it. I did see like a headline for an article today talking about like after the Acolyte got review bombed early on, it seems that people are now wanting to have a season 2. So whatever they did to end it off, it seems like they maybe I'm like from the general guys that I'm getting, it seems like they gave a pretty decent or satisfying ending to the story. And my whole thing with Star Wars is that I'm tired of these Skywalkers. I'm tired of everything having to be Skywalker related. And so the fact that this story doesn't, at least to my knowledge, at this point,
Mhm.
doesn't involve the Skywalkers, doesn't even talk about anything that we know as far as like traditional Star Wars, and it's kind of trying to live on its own. It's already a win for me in that sense. Now, to your point, I'm not as deep of a Star Wars person like you, but like I mentioned before, um, the fact that you're taking a chance and you're not sticking with the actual Skywalker saga of it, that's cool. And I'm gonna give you a chance on that. Doesn't mean that the show is the best.
Yeah.
It's just more of like my leniency of like, well, at least you're doing something different and you're kind of getting out of your traditional bag. And so I'm curious to see how it ends. I'm curious to see how it ends and what the overall point of the show was, rather than just saying that like, hey, we're selling new toys and you know we're just kind of going back into history just to make money off of it. So I'm curious. With the
Yeah.
Boys, I'm also curious because obviously with the current events and situations and them having to update the title of the episode, um, I'm curious to see what happens because I haven't even seen episode 7, and people already knew what was going to happen in episode 8.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see. I still don't even know what happens after in episode 7 to even get us to this point
Yeah. Yeah.
in the boys season finale. So I'm curious to see what happens in both those situations.
Yeah. Just to put I guess my grade on it, so you know where I stand. Hearing you said there was a Variety article or whatever you said they gave the rating for Acolyte as a 7.
Mm-hmm.
I give it Acolyte's a 5.5, five
Okay.
and a half, or a 6. I think the 6 is me. Like you said, like I'm giving it that like little boost just because you're showing me something different. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So yeah, we'll round up to a 6. That's my opinion.
I think that's fair.
And I'll give for knowing what season 4 of The Boys is, like like you said, being on a treadmill for a treadmill season, it's a 7. There you
It's
go.
not bad for them. Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
it's bad for
exactly,
them, but like as far as general TV, it's not bad. You know what I
exactly.
mean? Like it's just like, oh, okay. Because even thing with the boys too, it's like they show you so much gruesome stuff
Hmm.
like through 4 seasons that like, at some point you almost become desensitized to it. That it's not even that important to the story anymore. It's just almost shock value, and it's like you've been shocked for 4 seasons already. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's just what y'all do.
Yeah, how much more
You know what I'm
shocking
saying?
can it get? Basically, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm now like 100% like focused on the story of it, and so
Hmm.
I do think with the boys collective of Huey and Starlight, they're probably not as interesting this season as someone is like Homelander is the most interesting person in the show.
Yeah,
I'm not even that interested with Butcher,
yeah.
even other than like Butcher is on the verge of dying or
Hmm.
whatever happened to him. So I'll kill these 2 episodes before the end of the weekend.
For sure. Yeah,
We'll catch
what
up.
you got for a Percy though?
Yeah, my Percy's going to be pretty simple, and it's something that I've been waiting, not myself, but a big group of probably mostly men, but I'm sure there's definitely women involved as well, between ages of 18 to 40, maybe 18 to 45. And
Hmm.
we've been waiting for what is it, 2024, 14, about 11 years
11 years. Yeah.
since we had a college football game come out. And we finally got one to come out in college football 25. And I don't think you played a game, Moody, but I've played about 5 hours of it, done some scouting, played a few games. Is it revolutionary? No, it's not. Is it an elevated NCAA 14? Yeah, in some respects. Is it a Madden reskin? Yeah, in some respects. Is it a fun game? So far, I'm having fun. I'm having fun. I'm already like, and I know I'm having fun because I haven't even really like played it like that because I was on the EA trial
Yeah.
before like it became public to the general population yesterday, and I'm not even playing the game. I'm thinking about like, all right, I got UVA this week. It's a rivalry game. I got scouts coming in. I got top recruits coming in 4 weeks to see me play USC.
Yeah.
That's a big game that I got.
It gets into the details like that. That's
Yeah, you know
interesting.
what I'm saying? I got the recruiting. I'm thinking through my playbooks because I told you I'm playing as Maryland. All they got is shotgun.
Really? Yeah. All his
It's
shotgun
like
and pistol formation.
they have nothing under snap. So I was like, I need to find me a playbook that I can run something under snap.
Yeah, a pro style offense. Yeah.
Some semblance of a pro style offense. So that's why I'm like, all right, I need to actually create a custom playbook. And maybe not just for offense, but I think I'm also just need to create one for defense. Just so like because that's the fun. I don't think I've had that type of at least kind of like mental engagement
Hmm.
with a sports game like since probably NCAA 11, where I put thousands of hours in that game. So
Yeah.
um I'm hoping like I think a little bit's nostalgia, but I'm hoping that they kind of built this is a good foundational step that I hope that they can build upon. But at the end of the day, it's EA.
Yeah.
So 25 is fine, but I bet you 26 is gonna be like, oh, like there's barely any updates to this.
Yeah. Exactly. It's the same game
Yeah,
again. That's why I think this one will be the just the same way that NCAA 14 like stood the test of time for 11 years. I guess just because it had to also.
yeah,
But I could see it going that direction. I think it's interesting hearing you talk about it because I was never an NCAA football player or the
yeah,
video game obviously. So you're talking to what will be a new fan of this game, and I've told you personally that I'm more of a NFL fan when it comes to football versus college because there was never like ODU, growing up, they never had a team. That's the crib for real. That
they
didn't
in the game now.
show up till later. And
They're in the
now
game.
I see, yeah, I see they're the worst team in the game. I see.
Well, technically by prestige, they're the worst, but like in real life, ODU is pretty good.
I just thought it was hilarious that like within 24 hours, like my YouTube algorithm said oh, I rebuilt the worst team in college football, and it was really the ODU Monarchs logo, and the streamer's like, it's like on the thumbnail, and I'm like, yeah. So I
Like honestly,
downloaded that.
that's like the best experience. Like I said, I picked Maryland because I was like, I only got 10 hours. And
Mm-hmm.
so let me try to make the most out of it. So if I'm going to start a dynasty, I want to at least go to environments where it's going to be tough. That's the good thing about NCAA that you don't get in Madden is that you can go to any one of these 32 other stadiums and it all feels the same.
Yeah.
But when you go to Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, like they do a really good job of making it feel like you're in their house.
Yeah.
And with the pulse meter, the stadium pulse, and the squiggly artwork and everything, if that game gets out of control, it's a wrap. It is hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So NCAA is definitely a fun game. It's definitely a fun game. It's a lot more open, fast paced because it's college and it's all
Yeah.
offensively geared. So you're gonna get some high scoring games. But overall, I think the game, it's like the gameplay itself is cool. It's pretty familiar in aspects. Like you could just pick up if you play Madden, you can kind of pick it up. There's gonna be some wrinkles that differentiate itself, but where it really stands out as far as where I think most people spend their most bread and butter is the dynasty mode and the recruiting.
Yeah.
That's where it's like, because I remember in NCAA 11 I picked Troy, and Troy was like a half-star team, and I remember on Xbox they had an achievement. It was like start as a half-star team and get them all the way up to a 5-star prestige.
Yeah.
And so, man, I started as Troy. We was in like some Sun Belt conference, through the years, just getting all these recruits, and then you eventually get your first 5-star, and then you're like, oh, okay. Then you get requests to switch conferences, and there's like, hey, we want to invite you to like this middle tier conference, and then eventually I got the conference invite to go to the SEC, and I'm like, oh, let's go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like when you finally get into that top 25 AP ranking as a school that started as a half-star. Just to even say that you're getting votes, it's like, yes, we are doing it. And my guys on Heisman, like, let's go. So, no, that's I feel like right now it seems like it's early nostalgia. Right now it's early nostalgia, but I feel like if the scouting is as deep, because I haven't even got to the transfer portal yet, I'm about to, this might be a whole year thing. So
that's great to hear. Like I said, it's a different ride. What you're describing, than our connected franchise mode from Mac. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it. Like I said, I've never played it.
Road to Glory too. They allow you to take your player into Madden. Like they used to back in the day. So you could like start as like a freshman quarterback, play through all 4 seasons, and then export your player, and then get drafted in Madden. Yeah. And it just continues everything. So it's like, oh, that's dope. But yeah, those are the Percys. Let's get to the show.
Doors opening. Step back to allow customers to exit.
Look at the crowd. How was your haze? Hampton. Wrestling Re-Up Podcast. Weekly stroll through the avenue. Wrestling. Pick up. I forgot to mention that you had to take your mic off if you wanted to do your intro part.
I realized that as I was saying it. I just did what you did last week. That's all that happened. Because I was definitely sitting here confident. I heard you. I was ready for the cue. You were talking about how we got about 6 seconds to say everything.
Yeah.
I heard you finish. I said all that confident, saucy, all that.
It's funny because I did see the notification on the top that says like your mics are muted while the video's playing. I was like, okay, let me
go ahead and untap that. Yeah. We'll get it down.
Yeah, episode 2, man. We got a long way till episode 100, and we do our 100th episode anniversary. So if we don't have it down by then it's a problem. But let's get into the show, and it's a pretty light week, and I'm gonna call it the dog days of the summer. People vacationing. It's hot as a mug. At least on the East Coast, we finally getting out of this humidity. So the calendar looks a little bit light. I don't have many news topics, even though there's probably some news topics that we did see that I didn't add to it. But let's just get into the show and see how things come up. But let's start with our first stop on the avenue, and that's the flagship store. We're at Raw. And Raw was pretty entertaining. It was pretty entertaining. Again, I think Raw, for like since the Triple H era, has done a good job of making 3 hours not feel like a Martin Scorsese movie.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's enough like things that are happening. It's segmented out pretty well that it's like, okay, like there's a bit. It feels like 3 independent hour shows rather than you're watching like 3 hour long, like a 3 hour long show. So, you know what we need? You know what we should do in these situations? You remember in Sister when like they were in college and then what was like T and Mara's boyfriends? They were like rooming together.
Okay.
And they like whenever they wanted to like have a like to figure out like whose turn it was to do something, they had like the possession arrow, like in college basketball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we should have that to see like who goes first. Be like, all right, hit the possession arrow.
Okay, I got you.
Moody, go ahead. I'll let you go start off with what did you pick up from the flagship?
Man, a quick rundown of what I picked up is some Primo, Gunther, talking spicy to El Campeon.
Yeah.
Still Drew being delusional, the delusional hypocrite that he is, also Primo. The
dig
women's...
into those. Dig into one of those before you get into your mid.
Oh, sure.
Either one. Dig into both of them, but just pick one, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, Gunther, well, as I'm listening to Gunther, I started thinking, I'm like, damn, I mean, we knew it was obvious, but I was like, did we get like the like racist Cody booking wrong when we should have just went with the obvious Nazi, you know, that Gunther is as a heel? Because he started saying like, obviously, you know, Damian Priest's character is like, he had to get it out the mud and he grinded his whole way here and all that. I
didn't even care. That's life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's like, I was living on the street and everything. Gunther comes back with living on the street is a choice. I was like, what? He was like, you talk about like how you had to grind. He was like, yeah, that sucks. My parents loved me. They provided me with everything that I needed. So I didn't have to, you know, get my fingernails dirty, which is why you don't deserve that title. And which is why you'll always be street trash. I was just like, God damn. Like, yeah. So a scathing promo from him. And also that promo really nipping at the bud of like internet, you know, discourse around Damian Priest's, you know, title run. Of like, if he, like, you know, when you asked me before, does he feel like a believable champion and all that stuff, just to know that he has to, like, in a kayfabe sense, like, we know that he has to, like, hold his title for a certain amount of time to be legit, you know, or seen as a real, credible, threatening champion in the future. You know what I mean? And Gunther just hammered that home, that you're not that good. That's why you're fucking up and you're getting in your head, and which is why I'm going to be champion in a few weeks' time. So, yeah. Gunther, he that's the most heelish, like, thing I guess he's done, because, you know, he doesn't cheat or anything, but he does talk shit, and I would say this is probably the most he's ever talked shit. Yeah. So that's why it's
I thought the segment was good. I don't have it listed here. If I had to put it anywhere, I'd probably put it in Primo. I'll add that to my Primo. I do think there's 2 things that I have thoughts with. The first thought is kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Tiffany Stratton. And, you know, when she put out that you know, video of, you know, someone overlaying the voiceover saying, "You black bitch."
Yes.
Like that. And what was my point back then? It's like, I get it. You guys are characters and stuff like that. And then in that situation, that's probably unintentional. Definitely unintentional. Hopefully unintentional. But again, there's a thin line, especially nowadays. There's a thin line between like, don't lean. You got to protect your talent. Yeah. Like, there is something to leaning into what the character might be. That's why I don't really have a problem with what Gunther said, because you can kind of tell it's like, it's more character.
Yeah, for sure.
again, with the crazy motherfuckers out here nowadays, like they gonna take that and be like, oh yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just you don't need to make them avatars for something that they don't really intend to be. That's my thing. But I don't think we've gotten there. But again, like it's towing the line, and this gets into a larger discussion of like WWE's relationship with not only just UFC, but specifically like Dana White and Triple H kind of being Dana White. Not in the sense of just running things, but just like even the way he moves, the things that they like. I'm like, I'm just gonna leave it there. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna leave
does
it
that
there.
surprise you though? That doesn't surprise you, right?
This is not a political conversation, but I'm just saying, just keep your third eye open.
Sure. I mean, I don't even think that requires the third eye. That's why I was like, does that surprise you? That's my thought when I hear that. It's like,
no, but at the end of the day, you're a business. You know what I'm saying? Sure. Like UFC made their business on like their demographic like that. Again, I'm not trying to get in politics in here, but the WWE is a much more diverse audience. And so, like, I do think there's a certain aspect of Gunther's character, or maybe even Tiffany's character, but probably let's stick with Gunther, right? Gunther's character does fit a typical stereotype, an archetype of the 80s.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not as blatant as it was back in the 80s, but it's still the same ilk, right? So it's like, how far do you want to push that? It even goes to like Muhammad Hassan type of stuff, right? Anytime you have like some foreigner like this, and then now you not only have a foreigner, this is an Austrian, German, wherever you want to, Eastern European white guy with slick back hair with another white guy that was slick back hair.
Yeah. We know the imagery.
That's you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Tiffany Stratton, like, I get it. You probably a great person. Apparently, when they had Chelsea Green on The Masked Man, she was like, yo, Chelsea is super fucking, not Chelsea. Tiffany is super shy. I'm like, really? So again, like, all I'm saying, it's like, I get there's a level of like, this is entertainment, this is TV, and you're acting, and you're playing a character. You also gotta, you don't need to make them avatars for other people to use them as vehicles for their own agendas. Yeah, and like I said, I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just saying, in that promo, there's a thin line. There's a thin line. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they crossed it, but
oh no, I don't think so either.
You put your nose up to it.
Yeah, and just to add to that point, Chris Van Vliet, he's getting the best, wrestling interviews nowadays on YouTube and everything. And just recently, he had I don't know if you saw, he had an interview with Jinder Mahal. This is his most recent episode.
I saw, like, as I was scrolling, I didn't listen to it.
Yeah, but he actually brings up exactly what you're talking about, or what we're talking about right now, where he came back in 2020 and he was heel, and he did basically a off-color promo to like Shinsuke, saying Godzilla and stuff like that. And he's pulling the curtain back because that 90-day no compete is up now, so that's why he's talking about it and just saying how obviously he just didn't want to fucking do it. But this was this is the job, do the job, basically. So, and he said he never forgave himself for that, but that's a different subject. I didn't intend for it to go that far, obviously.
The same thing with Shelton Benjamin saying the same thing. It was like, he was like doing some mock Japanese to so I forget what, I think it was like Jimmy Wang Yang or something like that. And he was just like, and it was just like, he was like, even in today, because somebody had posted it on Twitter, and he was like replied to it. He's like, I hated that moment. I still hate that moment. I'm ashamed of that moment. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I get there's a level of entertainment, but bro, read the room. You don't need to, again, these are regular people at the end of the day. Like, some people are crazy that they take what's happening on the ring and on TV as real. And so, like, you have people go out there, like, whether it be Tiffany Stratton, and again, Tiffany Stratton doesn't necessarily inherently, like I say as a jokingly thing, I didn't think she's actually doing that. You know what I'm saying? Don't mean you need to lead into it.
Yeah, right.
That's all I'm saying. Don't lean into it and give it a face and let people run with it. And then all of a sudden, Gunther is going to be put on, like, MAGA or whatever type of stuff and used as a vehicle of like, oh yeah, this is our guy. It's like, bro, I'm a TV guy. I'm cool with everybody back here. This is acting. That's Gunther. My name's not Gunther.
Yep. I'm glad you like the character. That's where it has to be. Like, the same way where Homelander or Anthony Starr, that's his name, right?
Yeah, Anthony Starr.
Yeah, gets threats because he's Homelander. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, people are just nuts.
Same thing, Kristen Cole. I'm like, yo, I hate Kristen Cole. The actor, Fabian, whatever his name is, he's killing it.
Yeah, right.
He's killing it. He's great. Like, he's doing his job. You know what I'm saying? So that's my first point on that. My second point, I did hear the conversation of like Damian Priest's title reign and whether it's been a good title reign. I think they had that conversation on Wednesday Worldwide this week. I tend to be on the opposite side of this, where I think it's all part of story. I think we're supposed to feel this about Damian's reign. And I think as part of it is because he's with Judgment Day right now, and there's a lot of conflicting things. But again, every time he's been in a title match, somebody, through none of his, he's not asking them to interfere. This is not a Roman Reigns type of situation. People are coming into his matches and interfering, whether it be Seth, whether it be Drew, whether it be CM Punk, whether it be any one of the members of the Judgment Day. They're all coming in through their own volition and interfering on Damian's match. And he's always tight about it. And he's always winning around it. So I think part of this fact is like, oh, yeah, you can't do this on your own, this, that, and the third. And it's Damian is getting to the point, I feel like, where he is pretty much had enough with the Judgment Day. I think it's going to come to a head at SummerSlam. And I do think when we get to SummerSlam, this is my early booking. It could change within the next couple of weeks. I think Damian's winning.
This is where...
and then, yes, we have Bash at Berlin. I don't know how that works out in like 2 weeks. But I think Damian is going to be champion probably by up until till earliest Survivor Series, latest Royal Rumble.
Okay. Well, I just want to add to that point is that I see what you're saying, how we're supposed to feel this way, except like we can't ignore like, getting your leg caught in the ropes at like Crown Jewel. That's not supposed to happen. That's just like a freak accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also not getting your shoulder up, another just unfortunate mistake, right? So with that being said, we know that those aren't part of building character.
Yeah.
Those are just unfortunate moments. So when
I'm not putting the leg one on anybody because there was problems with the ropes.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody.
Obviously, yeah. I'm just saying, but still, it just takes some of the air out of the match. That's all. It takes the air out of like the moment. And it was very scary in the moment. So that's what really took me out of it specifically. So that's kind of what I think about.
The biggest problem was not kicking out.
Yeah, that's the cherry on top.
That's the biggest problem so far. That's probably the only biggest, because I think he's a pretty good promo. I'm not a big fan of the El Campeon because it just reminds me of Jericho and him saying La Champion or whatever he was calling himself. And so like it just seems like it's a little too similar for my liking, or at least within like Jericho was literally just doing it like a year ago. So it's not brand, it doesn't feel as fresh. But the biggest thing, I don't really have a problem with Damian Priest's title reign. I think he could be good. I think it's just part of the storyline that like this Judgment Day is just like he's got to be on his own.
Sure. Yeah, we know that story is definitely there. They've been sowing the seeds of that. So, yeah, that's all I had for that though. You got any more thoughts on that?
No. Well, yeah, that's that. Let's talk about Drew real quick.
Oh, it's just the segment where Adam Pearce had Drew come out to apologize to the refs, which I thought was a great narrative moment because we've never seen them just like outside of like, authority figures in the past just saying like, oh, this ref is a piece of crap or whatever, and he would just blame them. Like, I don't think I can recall a time where it's been like, oh, apologize to these real humans like in the ring that you affected. And I was like, yeah, you should apologize to them. Like, seriously, I was completely on Adam Pearce's side. Yeah. He's like, they got hurt. And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that. One of those refs, he got crushed twice between the steel steps. So I was like, yeah, that's something for an apology. And then Drew, I mean, being the hypocrite that he is, he doesn't see what he did as wrong at all. He's like, you should be apologizing to me. Like, and then pushes like he doesn't strike them, but it is striking them effect like as referees. He pushes the referees away, so you know they're dead because they're fragile little creatures. But like just that, even like
it's funny too because like those refs are not like the refs that we grew up with. Those dudes are swole.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, just like I thought it was 5-star stuff when he got in his bag of like when he was like, man, whether it's CM Punk, whether it's Seth sticking their nose in my business, he's grabbing the ring ropes, like not facing Pierce. He's like kicking the ropes, just full on tantrum. It's like I'm not tired of this. I'm still not.
Drew's killing it.
I wanted to bring it down to Miz because it's obviously we know this character of Drew, but I was like, I think it was maybe just the ref thing specifically, and like it's just all working. So I would have
had this in Primo. I had this in Mids, and it's mostly because I'm like, I'm tired. This is again purely on character because I like Scrap Daddy. Between the two general managers, I need Adam Pearce to grow some goddamn balls.
Mm-hmm.
He showed it a little bit, but I'm like, the funniest thing from Adam Pearce in this segment is like after Drew like pushed both off the refs and stuff like that, Adam Pearce started to get in his face. I don't know if you caught it. He took off his glasses and tossed it up in the air like the Birmingham.
Oh, I did not see it. I didn't catch that. Not him throwing them up. I saw him take them off.
He took his glasses off. He tossed them joints up in the air like the Birmingham Brawl. I was like, oh, okay, Adam Pearce, let's go. But still, Adam Pearce always looks like it's just too much for him to handle.
Yeah.
He's always like, oh my God. He's always like, I'm like, man, you need to get control of your show. We've been saying this for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Get control of your show, Adam Pearce.
Bro, but just to add to that point, like when we first made up, like, oh yeah, Raw's the flagship, like what was the first thought? It's Walmart. Bro, that's a lot to deal with. Like you got like stealing shit out the front. You got motherfuckers like doing twerk videos in the aisles and shit in front of children. Like it's just way too much. Like seriously, he's got so many fires in so many different places. By the time you call one shit down, now you got somebody else fucking shit up. Now you got a wild Braun Breaker on the loose. And
you know what he needs to do? He needs to remember a 3-minute warning.
Oh yeah, that was fire. That was a great gimmick.
He needs 3-minute warning. He needs his own version of 3-minute warning.
Mm-hmm. That's good, right there.
Adam Pearce is like, if y'all don't handle this, y'all got 3 minutes before I handle this.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I had on Drew.
No, Drew's killing it, man. And then let my guy come out. Burn it down. I'm ready for it. That's Seth and Drew is bubbling. I'm curious to see how that plays out because now you got Seth, Drew. Are we gonna make that a 3-way?
Oh yeah, with Punk. That's on the table. I like it for sure. I mean, they definitely all have cases to say that, like,
if you make it a 3-way, it's got to be a 3-way number 1 contendership match. It's got to be a 3-way number 1 contendership match.
Yeah.
But either other than that, like, yeah, that was a great segment. So we kept. I'll get into my primo in here, and this is specifically the Eric Rowan vignette. I was a little down on the videos after the first one that we've had because it just felt a little redundant. But finally, we got something different. We got another tape, but it was from somebody else. And we got Eric Rowan talking. Surprisingly, again, if he said it on TV, you seem like he obviously gave his blessing to it. But we get mentions of Brody Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And Bray Wyatt passing away and how that affected him and the purpose of this. And then I think what this tape did for me, and I don't know if I'm right, but it gave me possibly some clarity as to what's happening in these videos. Mm-hmm. And it depends on what happens with the next few videos. If we continue to get more videos and we're getting videos from like Dexter Lumis and Nikki Cross and I'm blanking on the third person.
Joe Gacy.
If we're getting the same perspectives, it almost seems to me that this is a therapy session. right?
Absolutely.
So imagine like, one of those AA meetings where everyone's kind of like sitting in a chair around a circle and they're all kind of just letting out their thoughts and feelings and kind of going through this therapy session. And it's just being led by Uncle Howdy. And so now, if that's the case to me, it's like now when I see you guys come in here, it's like, oh, you guys are basically like a bunch of people in therapy that found connection and now are kind of going out and kind of trying to like right your wrongs, or not right your wrongs, but kind of like come through the other side of it in a sense. Like this
Yeah.
is the way that you guys, this is kind of like the, whether it be therapy group or cult group, whatever you want to call it, but like y'all all are going through something similar and y'all found connection and community to then now kind of use this therapy group to kind of, go out and kind of do your thing out in the public. So I'm a little vague in how I'm explaining it, but if you kind of get where I'm sensing, where it's like these are all people kind of dealing with some type of mental, emotional, or physical trauma that only they understand amongst themselves and can relate to it. And then that's why, we're coming out to see this. So I thought that video started to pick back up my interest a little bit more. And then to continue that as well, and this gets into my mid, I thought the Chad, Gable, Bo Dallas, and ring segment I thought was done well. I have that in mids because I think the Creed brothers coming in was predictable. I thought the beatdown was like visually, I think it looked like they were waiting for something to happen rather than like actually like beating him up. But
Yeah.
I did like the fact that Bo was just laughing through all these joints. The way everybody came through, the rest of the Wyatt Six came through and they just kind of stood there and like laughed in the middle. I was just like, all right. Like I think we're starting to see the difference between the previous Wyatt iterations and this Wyatt. And I think this might be something that actually sticks. But again, it all depends on what happens in this ring. But right now, I think they're giving me a little bit more faith.
Yeah. The characters I love like completely. Uh, the people who are in it, I like them all. Like Joe
Yeah.
Gacy, Dexter Loomis, even like his silent like stalker persona he had in like NXT and everything. But like, yeah, I think I mean, really, you put a period on it for me. Like, just you made me have that revelation as you're describing it. I think you're right. Where it is, I never saw it as like an AA meeting,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, with them just being, like the camera's just panning to the next person. You could see that being the connective tissue. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh shit, yeah, that does make sense. I've sat in at AA meetings, and that's exactly how they go. So originally, I was thinking that it was just like one-on-one therapy sessions. I think it was obvious, when we got the two back-to-back Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy segments. But yeah, I think you're right that it is like this. That's a perfect description, honestly. Yeah, the AA surrounding meeting. And then for them to like, or Bo loosely saying it's because, or they're targeting people who forget their family or wrong their family. Yeah, that leaves me excited, like you said, about what it's got to happen in the ring. But I don't have an issue with that because they've already protected these characters so well, like just building them up. It's not like I don't believe at all that we're going to get, a Mercy the Buzzard match where, Dexter is actually wrestling with the fucking helmet on. You know what I'm saying? That's not happening. They're going to take all that.
That's why it showed me interest. It was interesting to see that like when Bo Dallas was getting beat on by Gable and the Creed brothers, he was actually being hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he was laughing through the pain. Compared to like when Bray was in that same situation, it's like he was impervious to pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like he would no-sell everything. He wasn't no-selling. He was, when they was punching and kicking him, like he was selling it and he's like, but at the same time, like you're laughing. And so it's like, okay, like, so I think that's one of the things with Bray back, when he was the Fiend. It's like, what are you going to do when you do an RKO and this dude just stands right back up?
Yeah. You're like, nigga, that was my nuke. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like he just no-sold it. And so that's where it's like, okay, again, if this is a therapy group, and they're laughing through their pain and whatnot. It gives some sense of it doesn't make it as surreal as it could be. It's still surreal, but it's somewhat still grounded. And you can kind of understand why certain things do work and some things don't work whenever you try to like do damage to any one of these people. So
yeah,
and I'm getting back on it. Never said that was off, but I do think there is a little bit of stagnation.
Yeah, and even if they're not like I think AA is accurate, like you said, the way you described. If it's not that, then I've also been in like a medical like group therapy session where you are at a hospital, where that's where I think they might be the more I just, we're talking about it, just because it is 6 as in SICKS. So it's like, all right, Uncle Howdy is like, whether it be mentally or physically, but that's something you get done at a hospital. And it's just like, clearly Uncle Howdy is their therapist or doctor through all of this. But yeah, good shout for sure. What else you got?
Yeah, my other mid, and I'll make this quick. I brought this up as Shake last week, but I think based off of like, it's small, but Pete Dunne attacked Sheamus. So last week we saw a little bit of conversation between them. This week, Sheamus tried to, get some dap from Pete Dunne. Dunne was like, nah, he backed out the ring. Sheamus turned his back. Dunne comes back in, attacks him from behind, and seems like we're getting, Pete Dunne versus Sheamus, possibly at SummerSlam or maybe Bash at Berlin. But either way, I just like that Pete Dunne's getting something. I feel like, it's unfortunate that it has to come at the expense of like Tyler Bate being out with the torn pec. But man, I'm a big fan of Pete Dunne ever since he was in NXT, and I saw him being like the joint manipulator and stuff like that. I was like, oh.
Bruiserweight, bruiserweight.
Yeah, that joint night when I saw my man just grab some of my fingers and be like, I was like, ah. Yeah. I ain't never seen that in wrestling before. So like, and if he's a heel,
yeah,
let's go. Let him get that. Let him get the IC title. He'd be a badass as an IC title. So, I'm gonna keep that short. Pete Dunne, Sheamus, mid, with positive arrow up.
Yeah. I mean, my only mid that I had this week was just the continued story of Rhea, Liv, Dom. So I'm calling women's title love triangle at this point. Might as well just give it an official, name. Just all the drama with that. I guess this should be technically a Today I Learned also, but it was just like, as I was in Instagram, it was like a short that people were talking about like the design of like Liv's shirt, how it looks like it's soaking wet, or she is soaking wet when she comes out, like her hair and everything. And come to find, I guess that's just a custom shirt where it just gives that visual illusion like she's wet, but it's not. Like because it looks like you can see her bra and everything through it, but that's just how the shirt is made. And I was like, okay, well that's cool. But
that was interesting too. Go, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just I was keeping it short. Also, is that we know this story already. What I mean?
That's what I was gonna say. I don't have it listed here in the Notion doc, but that's pretty much Shake. It's like it's not unexpected to me. It's like what we expected. The only thing that I wish, and maybe it's just early, we gotta have Dominic on a pole match.
Bro, obviously. I mean, like either in a shark cage, on a pole, like something. Like Dominic a reverse buried alive, like you have to dig him out or something.
Yeah. Dominic needs to be a stipulation in this match. And it's not like
a Dom match for sure.
He needs to, like I said, Dominic on a pole, Dominic in a cage. It's probably Dominic in a cage, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, because he's been in a cage already, I'm pretty sure, at a certain point.
Maybe when he was a kid. I don't know now.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm ready for
that's where I'm like, we know, like you said, we know what's coming. But what we really want is Dominic on a pole match versus Rhea versus Liv.
Yeah.
So we'll get there.
That's just perfect.
We might get there for Bad Blood. We'll probably do Bad Blood.
Yeah. Also, that would just be too perfect just because it makes him the helpless child that he is. Like, has to have these two women.
Imagine him in the top of the. Imagine him in the cage above the ring with a bunch of his nuggets. What do you got? His nuggies. A
Yeah.
plate of nuggies as they fight for him.
Mm-hmm. But
What a life.
right. And yeah, that's all that I have for my mids because we're just continuing that. I'm still in. I'm still in for
Yeah.
that. Just like you said, dog days of summer. We're just keeping that story going.
All right. Do we have any more things to do at the flagship store, or can we move over next to the next store to the bodega?
Oh yeah, my shake. I guess it would be the Braun overhead cam strikes again
Yeah.
in the main event, and I want to say that's probably the fastest he's looked
Mm-hmm.
like at all like that time, or it could have been like the camera editing. But either way, yeah, he bent that fucking corner like a defensive end. Like he's an outside linebacker. Yes,
Man used to play.
it looks
Man
like
used to
it.
play
He looks like an
fullback.
outside linebacker. Yeah.
Man used to play fullback, and so imagine him coming on a toss.
Oh yeah, coming through you. You got to take him down.
You got he's not even carrying the ball. He's lead blocking
Right.
on a toss. Full speed like that, and you a 180-pound DB. You Emmanuel Forbes out here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
rest in peace. And he got the Mike Allstott neck brace on the back and everything. You already know who did. But yeah, he went straight through Dragunov, and it's like, hey, I ain't tired of that either. Like, I'm not. But yeah, that's all I had. We can move over.
All right.
Take a few steps down the avenue.
Let's move over to the bodega. NXT. I'll let you start since you have the Notion doc filled up, but I do have some thoughts.
Yeah, the Primos, Rascals beating Gallus. Love it. Just the seeing my guys MSK. I brought it up, last week, but getting to see them in the ring again, super unified. It's like they haven't missed a beat, but of course they're all like in their mid-20s or young 20s, so these guys are made out of rubber. Of course they're like seamless. And really what the constant show stealer has been Joe Hendry. He came out during their match, say his name and he appears, part of his gimmick. And he just gives some commentary. And, even though that's all he was doing, just hearing his music, like it's already over. It's completely over. Like 1,000, inside the performance center. So that's where I put like, just sign him. Like, you might as well just sign him. Like it's clear. You know what I'm saying? Like TNA is not going to want that to happen, but I think we're just laying the groundwork for it at this point.
I see. I think this is a good test run because, again, it's NXT. It's a small place. I'm curious to see. And again, we talked about this when Sexy Red was on. Like, for people that like watching or keeping up with NXT, like that's some deep. That's still a little bit of deep cut.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, even like me, like we watch wrestling. I watch wrestling. I'm not too familiar with Joe Hendry. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a new learning experience for me to kind of get familiar with him. I'm curious to see, will the crowd be chanting along if he comes on the Raw or SmackDown? I think that's the next test.
For sure.
Like, if, say, Logan Paul retains, or even LA Knight, like, let's say, whatever happens with the U.S. title, right? He comes out the next night, and that crowd pops like times 5 that they do on NXT.
I think,
and honestly, that makes TNA look great because it's like, look, this dude from TNA got an entire arena of people that barely even know you to pop and sing your shit.
I think I'm ahead of this on you, and the thought that like I'm already thinking like because he can walk into NXT right now. You know what I'm saying? Like he's already an NXT superstar as far like I'm not stealing him from TNA, but I'm just saying he would work right now. On the roster. Obviously, he's over. Just keep doing this TNA NXT thing for the next 4 or 5 months. Royal Rumble. I bet Royal Rumble that shit pops this year. Like, just let him work in NXT. I'm willing to bet that. But yeah, that's all I have for him. Like, great match, great Joe Hendry sighting.
Dope. Yeah, I'll let you continue.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking for the video right now, actually. But Tatum Paxley's, all right, so just in a vacuum, this was just a singles women's match. It was Tatum Paxley versus, who was she facing? But what caught my eye was just her finisher. Tatum
Izzy
Paxley.
Dame. Izzy Dame.
Izzy Dame, thank you. It went smoothly, like the match itself, but the finish of it. Her finisher is called the Psycho Trap. And it looks like she's, those like wrestling moves, like when they're setting up for it, and it's like, you're going to break your neck or break your arm, like when you do this. You know what I mean? Because she like puts her arm, or she puts her head underneath, like she bends them over, like almost as if she's going to pick them up, like for an FU. But she like hooks their leg and hooks their arm and just swings her body. And somehow it turns into like a very forceful, like spinning, like neck driver, basically. Yeah. And I was just like, holy shit, that's a finisher right there. You know what I'm saying? It's the same effect that Widow's Peak has on me. You know what I'm saying? When you see Widow's Peak, you're like, oh, she's dead. You're like, yeah, that's so.
Is she lifting them off the ground, or is it like, are they always on the ground and she's just kind of like spinning them?
Yeah, they're on the ground. Like, so they'll have one leg.
My question was going to be like, can she pull this off on anybody? Like, can she pull this off on Nia?
She could. Because it's that suspension of disbelief, like a Canadian destroyer. Because they're just jumping with it more than anything. So, however, with that being said, I think she could hit it, but she's just going to lose that match. She's not going to be able to put that on Nia. Like, we talk about the queen of the ring here. So I'll say no for now. But either way, for her division, like that's a fucking primo finisher that I was like, oh yeah, I've never seen that before.
And it seems like from this, I'm looking on the Bleacher Report, there was some interaction between Wendy Chu and was it Wendy Chu and Izzy, or probably Tatum Paxley at the end of that?
Yeah, Tatum Paxley. To Wendy Chu, I like Wendy Chu, but she's still like they're. When they just put somebody there just for the sake of being there, it's just to let us know that she's back from injury and stuff. Yeah. But after the match, she's coming out, celebrating basically. But Wendy Chu's music comes on, she comes out and just holds out like a stuffed doll, for her, kind of like a straw man, like you would sleep with, I guess, like an old school doll. And honestly, I don't remember if she took it or not. I don't think she did. I think she was creeped out. And just like backed up past her. But yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens, what comes out of that. Because like we said, I think with Wendy, we just want to see some type of motivation being displayed. Like we get the gimmick change now. Now we need to hear motivation. So
yeah, for sure.
I'll get my stuff out the way, and I'll pretty much put both of these in primo just to kind of get out the way. My first primo is going to be, and I think you are going to talk about this as well. But you're taking this from the aspect of Thea Hale. I've been a fan of Thea Hale since Chase U. When like early on when Chase U was trying to when they were I believe they were all struggling. Like everyone sucked. And then she was the only one that was good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, but what I like about her is you could tell she's really into the character.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, all that. She's really good. But the highlight for me is Roxanne Perez in that promo. I think that's gonna be a good match between Roxanne and Thea Hale. Man, Roxanne, she's already been nice. We've known it. She's 21 or 20, however old she is right now. But man, the way she was cutting that promo, she was like, oh, they say when Julia comes to NXT, she's gonna run through the whole division. Oh, they say when Stephanie Valkyrie comes through, she's gonna go through the whole division. Well, I'm here, and it's my division, and they ain't gonna be running through nothing. And I'm like, let's go, talk your ass. And I feel that is the next great variation of AJ Lee. I feel like we said this before, but I'm like, you again, a short, in stature,
petite,
but but I feel like she can get down.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That whole segment, the Thea, I'm a fan of. I think she's gonna be dope on the main roster. Roxanne, dope. I think Roxanne, it reminds me of AJ Lee mixed with Sasha Banks.
Okay.
And obviously not the personality of Sasha, but I do think there's some of like the.
I think AJ Lee character is in there. She got because AJ Lee had charisma too.
She's definitely the AJ. I think it gets a lot of the
Mhm.
charisma, and so I think there's a little bit of Sasha in her as far as just like in-ring skill.
Yeah.
So either way, that is going to be a highlight when we get to that match. But that was a great promo for me. The other one, man, shout out King Oba Femi. Dun, dun, dun. Yo, him and Duke Hudson, they had a great promo last week to type up their match. Another great match, and then again, my guy Oba. Keep running it. We talked about it. They said that there is not going to be a pay-per-view the same weekend as Bad Blood. I think the next NXT pay-per-view is like 2 weeks after Bad Blood. So he will be like, by the time that comes around, like I said last week, he's already going to be breaking that NXT North American Championship. But great match overall. Duke Hudson looked good, and yeah, those pretty much my two takeaways from NXT. Both I'll put those both in primos.
Yeah, hey, this is the best Duke has ever looked. I mean, once again, for us to like chase you always struggling, that's like their like just constant storyline. They're always on the verge of bankruptcy or like they just suck at wrestling or something. But yeah, I thought he was absolutely phenomenal in this match, honestly. Selling for Oba, and once again, like the mark of like how good you are as a wrestler isn't your offense, but how you're selling for other people. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I thought they just did it, like even Oba being very generous with himself, even though he is going to be the longest reigning NXT North American champion. It makes sense when you look at him. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it was without a doubt definitely the best match like on the whole show. It was just a matter of the Joe Hendry of it that puts the Rascals above and Primo, since that's all one segment. But my Reggie, I had Reggie this week.
Oh, you got Reggie. I didn't see this on the doc. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, it is specific because I am gonna the Dante Chen versus All Ego, our NXT champion.
Yeah,
bruh, not Dante Chen's offense is Reggie as fuck, dog. Like I'm watching this shit and I'm like, how they talk about you have to have like a hot, like literally your moveset can get you over. You know what I'm saying? Baron Corbin, in my mind, is an example of that. Sami Zayn is an example of that. Like just having an awesome moveset to be like, tell the story of this character. When Dante Chen is on his takeover, he's on fire at this point, in WWE 2K24, in my mind. About to hit his finisher. You hear the whole crowd. They go, what does he do? Like his cherry on top to like just knock out this champion. It was a double chop to the chest. Just 2 open hand slap. It was the only way I could describe it was a spirit bomb slap. That's what I'm supposed to believe, because the crowd was cheering. And I was like, yo, what is this? Not to mention that, but even like, when they get into chain wrestling and they're going back and forth and stuff, he's a wrestler. He can do all that just fine. When he gets the upper hand, I'm checked out. like the most, not even that it's not executed well, just that these are all moves that I don't care about. That's the only way I could describe it. But yeah, that's it.
I'm not sure how he got this match. Honestly, like I was scrolling through the Bleacher Report and I'm like, Dante Chen for NXT Championship match? Like, I get it, like, yeah, welcome all challengers, but I'm like, you was just facing Lexus King like a month ago. Like, how you skip Javon Evans and everybody else? But
yeah.
Again, like, this is part of the thing where it's like, again, when we talked about last week, right? It's like when you had Trick or even someone like Braun as a champion, right? You're not going to really see them be challenged that often. They're always going to be really true competitors that actually have a chance against champions of that kind. Then you got get champions like Damian Priest or, Ethan Page, where hey, what makes Ethan Page better than me? You know what I'm saying? If I'm thinking of another name, if I'm Dante Chen or if I'm Lexus King, right? Like everyone starts to think that, whoa, he ain't better than me. Now, if it's Roman on the top, Dante Chen ain't talking about, oh, I'm better than Roman Reigns. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's where I'm surprised that he had the match. But hey, it's NXT. It's a Tuesday. He needed a match. So
yeah, and then I think it goes to your champion. You know, he told Trick get to the back of the line. So I think it's just him choosing his challenger because he knows he's going to beat them. That's the way that I see it.
It's all ego.
Exactly. He's like, oh, I'll beat the shit out of Dante. Yeah, you can have a title shot. That's what I think it is.
Any more thoughts before we leave the bodega?
Nah, I'm all right. I love Thea Hale. You already bigged her up for me. I just said, you know, she's my new Indy Hartwell. You know, the same way that I was in love with Indy back in the day. She's taken her place in NXT. So
yeah,
I'm rooting for her.
Thea looks like she has fun every time. Like she really she's really like, you could tell she's into the character. I'm like, you put too much, like you could see it in her face. It's like you're way too into this character, and it's dope. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like, oh wow, like you really believe this Chase U stuff. Like she's
a day one. She's a day one too, for real. She showed up to NXT and was like, "Take me in, coach. You got it, coach. Come on."
Yeah. So I think that's interesting. All right, let's move over to the International Coffee Shop, and we are going to talk about Dynamite, and it is Dynamite's 250th episode. I'm gonna be honest, I probably didn't have enough time to look through a lot of this stuff, so imagine like when we're in the store, you're primarily shopping, and I'm just kind of just like over your shoulder, just kind of like, yeah, what's up? What's that? Okay, cool. What you getting? Yeah. So this is your platform, sir.
This is where I will say I regret.
That's not me to disrespect what happened on the show. That's just I don't really know what happened, so I'm just gonna let you talk.
This is where I feel upset. I regret last week to a certain extent, like even putting or trying to invent Primo-dential, you know what I'm saying, for the Mariah May turn, just for the angle, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That like when it comes to this, like this one specific match, like this is a match of the year candidate. And I was really trying to think about what presidential is. And I was like, all right, if I get like, I even looked up like the awards for the Grammys, like how many nominees are for album of the year? It's like 6 to 8 most years. And I'm like, all right, so I can have a match of the year a season on each show. This was so far match of the year on AEW, as far as I'm concerned. So much so that it made me do research. But just so I can get you there, MJF defeated Will Ospreay in a 60-minute Iron Man match for the international title to start the show.
That's interesting because, as I was going through the Bleacher Report, there was like only like 5. There's only 5 slides, which means there's probably 4. You know, there's actually, so there's 5 slides. One of the first slide is just 5 slides. So 4 of them is like the 4th one is the overall grade. So I was like, that's a short match. That's a short show for 250. So I didn't know that was an Iron Man. Go ahead.
But that's the thing is that it wasn't presented as such. This was just, you know, you find out once, you know, you're watching it. And I'm like, what the hell? Like was
it a single pinfall, or were they counting pinfalls?
Single pinfall. So they just had an hour. It was an hour.
It's not even really an Iron Man match. They just went for an hour.
You're right. Iron or hour-long time limit. Excuse me. Yeah. But they went the whole distance. So obviously there is a nuance to that as far as Iron Man matches. But yeah, just the length of time like falls into the Iron Man category. That's why I was having it in my head. But it was great regardless. The pacing was amazing. Like the spots were great. Like even the fan interaction, there's a spot where, you know, Will Ospreay is obviously the face in this. They're battling in the crowd in like the first third of the match. And Will Ospreay has like MJF's arms like hooked into like, you know, the handrails that you use to like walk down. And he's holding his head back and he's like, hit him. And there's this little girl that's chopping the shit out of MJF. And it's like 10 out of 10 spot right there. Let that little girl be the. And he like even MJF staying in character, like, hey, don't you dare, don't you touch me. Like, and she doesn't care. Just like we talk about the cinematography that like WWE has. There was an amazing shot of like where MJF, he's gloating outside the ring because he just hit a heat seeker on Will, and he's facing the hard cam, and he's like, "Yeah, you gotta be smart, right?" He's just gloating, and then just from where he's standing, you can't see him, but then Will Ospreay slides beneath the lower rope and hits him with a hidden blade, just like from completely out of nowhere from behind him. He just flies out, and it's like, "Oh, holy shit!" Keep your eyes on the prize, Will, Max. But it was just complete adrenaline, shoot it into my veins type of shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why I said I bring it up that it was like, holy shit, like, yeah, maybe I should have just made sure that it was top shelf like last week. But for it to be, this was obviously a pay-per-view worthy match. You know, I'm not expecting an hour time limit for that. You know, it's like one of those things where it's like, this was clearly the crown jewel of, you know, Dynamite 250. They had to give you, I guess that's what Tony was thinking.
Yeah.
And this was that jewel that they gave.
And I imagine this was probably a commercial free.
Yeah. I'm just like, what in the hell is this? And it's, for that reason, I have it in top shelf right now, but I want to talk it out with you also. I know now you're telling me you didn't see it, but at least 23 minutes of it are posted on YouTube, the last 23. Like, and then even when MJF wins, it's obviously he's dirty. He hits him with the diamond ring. That's, you know, the real finisher that MJF has besides the brainbuster. He sneaks him, hits him with the diamond ring. 1, 2, 3. They got the medical staff coming out. They're like putting a neck brace on Will Ospreay. They're giving an oxygen tank to, you know, MJF. And MJF is like on the border of like passing out. And he's like, I forget exactly what he said, but it was so badass. And it's like, he just takes the mask down and he's like, I wish I could remember. I'm taking the air out of it right now. But he said something so in character. And I was like, oh, cold-blooded son of a bitch. But best thing on the show. Probably the best match this week, easily.
So there was a title change, too.
Yes, and the title changed.
Yeah.
This is what, all right, I did research because I was so captivated by this match. This is also why I'm like, so in the history of technically not Iron Man matches, but this is the closest this is the closest comparison because at least it's an hour long. So just in Iron Man match history, there has only been 3 times that you're talking about an hour long and the championship changes hands. The first time is
Brett and Shawn.
Yep, exactly. That's the first time when that ever happens. Brett Shawn at WrestleMania 12. Then you got Triple H beating The Rock at Judgment Day 2000.
I was going to say that, but I thought, because The Rock held the title, and then that's when Undertaker came back, and there was all these shenanigans and stuff like that. So I thought Triple H went in there with the belt, but that was 20 some odd years ago, so who might remember?
And the last time is Cena beating Orton at Bragging Rights 2009. That's the last time that's happened. An hour-long belt changing titles. Like, once again, technically, I mean, we're not used to an hour-long, like WWE never did that. A fucking hour-long single pinfall match. So I think by
the original Shawn and Brett, it's pretty much a single pinfall match.
Yeah. Looking back on it, as I was looking at it,
I think there's only like maybe they went through the entire match without any pinfall, and then they added an overtime, like a 5-minute overtime. So like technically it was only a one fall match, though it's an Iron Man match. So they just never.
All right, so by that definition,
they were just so good that they never pinned each other for
exactly. So there you go. It literally filed into that exact same category as Shawn and Brett back then. So yeah, they went 50, technically not an hour, but 59 minutes, 58 seconds. So that's what made me. I was like, holy shit. So, top shelf presidential this week. And I was like, all right, I think that should make it clear. You know what I'm saying? Like,
wait, is it top shelf or presidential? Those are 2 separate things.
Oh yeah, sorry, I just fused those together. Presidential for sure, and like I said, it just makes me regret trying to put
presidential or is it top shelf?
Presidential.
You have it in top shelf right now, so that's why I was confused.
Yeah, because I'm thinking it's a match of the year candidate, right?
Okay, I'll update it. I'll update it for you on the doc, just for accounting purposes. That's why I was just clarifying. But okay, all right. That again, I don't have the problem with this being a presidential. Again, I haven't watched it, but again, it's an hour long. I'll give it a chance, but again, these are your presidentials. These are not my presidentials. So
Sure.
I have less beef with this than I do last week.
Yeah.
But you so bad want to give AEW presidentials. That's wild.
I'm trying to think.
2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row.
We need to, and that's why I said I regret the last one. It's because it wasn't presidential last week.
You moved it to the top.
We moved it. Yeah, exactly. So it's not a presidential last week, but even still, like the fact that I had it up there, you know, I was trying to once again just validate where we can put more up there. And the only thing I can think is just match of the year candidates. You know what I'm saying? Like legit ones, and for it to be a surprise and like, I mean, I wasn't expecting an hour-long match. I was thinking, 25, 30, and not for it to do all that. You know what I mean? Yeah. The only way you make that match bigger is if it's on a pay-per-view. That's the only way.
Yeah.
And like, this is the highest ratings that they've had in like, I don't know, a month or month and a half, according to Wrestle Talk, whatever. So it's like, yeah, they brought eyes to them. You know what I mean? But, yeah, that's what I had.
No qualms here. I'll let you rock. I'll let you rock with that.
Yeah, like I said, I feel way more. That's why I took the air out of a presidential last week. That's why I said I regret it. Like I full on regret it, or attempting it, or bringing it up. But go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say continue on what you picked up. What at the coffee shop.
The mids that I had also that were there. Swerve beating Okada by DQ. We knew that this wasn't going to be a clean match, so that's why it's because it's champion versus champion the first time they've ever faced each other. The Young Bucks are going to come in there and fuck shit up. Yeah. So that's what they did, and that's just to continue their story for Blood and Guts. Coming up. So they already announced like.
Are on the mids? Are you up arrow on that or down? Maybe that's what we should do with the mids. It's like just to level set with people. It's like this is mid arrow up, mid arrow down.
Yeah.
Trending up or trending down. Is it trending up mid or is it? Or it could be just in the middle,
sideways. Yeah.
Or even in the middle.
Yeah, they didn't damage anything. So it's like I didn't think that Darby coming back necessarily moves the needle either. But that's
he came out from the back and like threw him lots of stuff like a bullet, right? Is that?
Wait, say it again?
Then like Darby, or maybe this is from a past clip, but I feel like I saw a clip of like somebody charging at somebody at the top of the stage, and then Darby Allin just kind of like jumping out like nowhere like a bullet and just like
yeah. He's a human crash test dummy. That's like his gimmick.
Was that this week or is that just an old clip?
I think that's an old clip. This week he descended from the rafters, kind of like old school. He was like the surprise. He had a harness on, and he just came from top, and they just lowered him down. So they said that was the last shot of AEW was setting up Blood and Guts Team AEW versus Team Elite. So, but yeah, that match was literally just a segment to start the brawl to the setup for that, and then Mercedes Moné beating Nyla Rose. Enjoyed the match itself. Once again, like you said, dog days of summer. We're just continuing the stories that we know are coming. Like, so after the match, Dr. Britt Baker, she was there, but she was in a Sting mask. Which I will say the highlight to this was, in my opinion, there was two things where they did have it on Bleacher Report too. It's funny when you hear Nyla, like when Mercedes goes for like a tornado DDT. And Nyla, you know how big she is. She just like tosses her off, and she was like, "Are you stupid?" Like, or it was like something like very Nia-esque, like, "Bitch, you tripping?" or something like that. You ain't think that was gonna work, and it was like, damn. That and Mercedes was also. There's a point in the match where she gets Nyla down, and she puts the moneymaker on her. And transitions it into the lockjaw, trying to be disrespectful to, the DMD. But the thing is, I love just like the nuance of characters because she tries to, do the lockjaw, put her hand in the mouth of Nyla, but Nyla's just biting her. And she's like, oh, and she just like lets it go. And they're putting over on commentary. It's like, well, she's not a dentist. She doesn't have the DMD. That's why she doesn't understand where the mandibular nerve is to properly, lock in the submission. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. She doesn't understand that. Like, that's such a specific task that you got to find this nerve under the tongue. Like, so I was all about it. But yeah, that's just continuing, keeping the plate hot for them. Mercedes and the Doc. So loved it.
I have one shake related to Mercedes, and actually Mercedes and Okada. But I don't know if you saw this segment. It's a little small clip of the Bucks and Okada. They're like backstage, and then Mercedes is there as well. And then the Bucks asked Mercedes if she could do her CEO dance, which I find it funny. They call it the CEO dance, so it's literally the same shit that she's been doing for fucking 10 years.
Yeah.
But she does a little, CEO dance, whatever she calls it. And then Okada is just like sweating bullets. He's like, whew, oh my God. Like, I'm like, I'm just going to leave that as shake. I'm like, if you're going to build some type of like, is there a storyline building there? Is where I'm going to leave it.
Yeah. I really like Okada. I think it looks like he's definitely
he's fun because again, it's serious, in cases like you take people like him and just make them super serious, right? But I'm like, oh, you got some
great.
you got some chops to you. You got some comedy to you. Like I dig it.
And he's been serious. I mean, New Japan ain't nothing but serious for the most part. At least their presentation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like that's why you gotta be. This is TV, man. You gotta be an entertainer.
And you already got Konosuke Takeshita on the same show, who's being like the serious.
He's being the New Japan, traditionalist and stuff. That's what I was like, hey, okay, Okada. Okay.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, Okada's great right now. And I really hope, I think that they're, at least as far as the storyline, maybe not a romance, but they're definitely presenting Mercedes as like the first woman of the elite. I would like to hear that title. I would like to hear that title for her because I'm like, yeah, she's a bitch, like in character, obviously. But it's like she's better as a heel. Just keep her that way. Like, come on. But that seems like they're leaning into it
because I was a little confused with. I'm like, are we supposed to? Are you trying to sell me her as a face? Because everything that she's done up until this point is not face.
Yeah, they were definitely trying
to face, and now it feels like okay, yes, she's a heel. Duh.
Yeah.
That's it. So, probably should not do that. Is there anything else more you want to talk about at the coffee shop before we just pop over next door and sit at the courtyard?
No, that is it. I'm chilling. Let's kick our feet up.
Let's kick the feet up. And we are going to start with one of my favorite segments. It's the book table outside where we're going to post up our feet, get our reading glasses out, and go look back at what happened in wrestling this week, in history of wrestling this week. And we have a couple of topics on hand. What do we want to start off with? You want me to go or do you want to go? I have one. You have, it looks like two.
Yeah, I'll start with my lower one because that's like, people don't have anything to say about this really, but just more of a historical note. That's what this is for. On this date, this was July 18th, 2003, Hiroshi Tanahashi wins his first New Japan title. And the only reason I bring that up is because he's important. He's the current New Japan president. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He was just over there on AEW, and it's like, wow, look at that. And I believe he beat Brock Lesnar for that title, if I'm not mistaken. Or it was around that same time. I can't remember. Or maybe Brock won his first title off of him. Huh?
You said this was last year?
No, it was 2003.
Oh, okay. I was like 2000. I was like, Brock Lesnar lost to somebody in New Japan in 2023.
But yeah, it's just, man, like that time capsule. It's like, I mean, and similarly, it's like Triple H is the head of creative now. You know what I'm saying? We old dog. Like won the first title that many years ago, and it's like, holy shit, look at this. And like right now, this is the most New Japan I've ever seen, working with AEW. This is the most wrestling ever. TNA is working with WWE. It's a great time, as I keep saying. This is I'd say this is a golden age. Honestly, that might be a presidential hot take right there. Like, I'm more over with this point in time of wrestling than I am with like Attitude Era, for sure. It was more of a societal.
I think we were having this conversation like about like a year or two ago when like we were at like WrestleMania 39. It was like we were telling LA, it was like, yo, like wrestling is probably like it's probably not there yet to the attitude level.
I'm there now.
We getting there now.
I'm there now.
I have no problem saying like we're probably at a better time than the Attitude Era, because at the end of the day, like the Attitude Era, while it was fun and it had like I think the stars of the Attitude Era are still bigger. Like you're not topping that, but a lot of that is just like how society is and how we were much more homogenized as society compared to now, where it's a lot more fragmented and there's a lot more things to watch. But the wrestling was not that good.
For sure not. No,
like it wasn't terrible, but like compared to what it is today, like these dudes are athletes. Back then, it's just a bunch of like The Rock was an athlete, or like people like had wrestling backgrounds. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, like you kind of like learned on the job, or you were kind of like some dude that used to bounce at bars.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, Bianca Belair, NCAA track athlete. Jada Parker on the Olympic U18 soccer.
Trick Williams, also NCAA football.
Breaker, football. So Ruka, NCAA athlete. Like, these are athletes here. You know what I'm saying? So that's where that on that level. And then obviously the storylines, they're I wouldn't say more mature. They have opportunities to actually age gracefully. Yeah. Like the Bloodline storyline is top shelf. That's not top shelf. That's presidential.
For sure.
That's an all-time storyline. Like, so I do think the storylines they're less, because again, back then it was more Howard Stern, cringe, shock value humor. And now again, when we're talking about television, what is the top television shows? The House of Dragon, Breaking Bad, these dramas, The Bear. And so there is something to being like, yo, that's our competition. Not Howard Stern, not Jerry Springer. Like, we making a television show between the hours of 8 and 11 or 8 and 10. That's your competition. And so as far as them putting out quality, the quality here today is as far as better. Again, the superstars, you're never going to get bigger than The Rock. That clearly showed you today when Roman Reigns was literally for 3 months just a dude.
Yeah.
He's the Universal Champion, but when your big cousin come through, you a dude. Like that's the thing. Austin can come back anytime. That glass break, he bigger than Cena. I'm sorry. Like, I love Cena. Ain't no Austin and Rock, bro. Ain't no Austin and Rock.
But yeah, it's funny. We just used Hiroshi Tanahashi as just more history talk.
Well, and let's keep. It leads me into my my fact, my book of wrestling fact this week. Since you were in 2003, I'll take it back a year earlier. Before that, 22 years ago, on July 18th, 2002, a shocking announcement. I remember watching this live, and I was stunned. Eric Bischoff is named Raw General Manager by the one Voodoo Ken Mafia. That was surprising. That when that happened, it was very surprising.
Yeah, I'd say I didn't, but I understood the obviously like the Monday Night Wars at that point, but not so much that I never looked at Eric, because I never looked at Eric Bischoff the way I looked at Vince McMahon, because I was never watching WCW the way I was watching WWE. You know what I mean? So like just him coming out there, I knew who he was, but it wasn't like a tectonic plate shifting moment for me the way that it should have been had I been, smart enough to obviously realize it. But I realize that now,
Yeah. No, so, yeah. Like I knew. I was like, oh, what? Because again, it's like, first of all, the fact that he's in WCW, and then he was the guy that was running WCW. He was the Vince of WCW, and so and then if you go back, like he was bold in a lot of this. Like he was, like you think Tony Khan is bad now? Like Eric Bischoff would engagingly use TV time to gloat
Mm.
and call out Vince. Like he one time was in the middle of the ring with like this big ass like Harley Davidson motorcycle talking about with a crown on his head and talking about it's good to be king. Because they just out there just celebrating their 83 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, you using up TV time to gloat?
It shows your priorities why you ain't got a company anymore.
You know what I'm saying?
For 83 weeks, that's all you got.
You know what I'm saying? So like to see him to be on Raw, and obviously general manager on a TV level does not mean like an actual general manager, but the fact that like he's with the WWE at that time, and it's literally a year after WCW got bought.
Yeah.
That's what that was really surprising. But it goes to show you, even though Vince is not around anymore, I think it still applies because we see with CM Punk and some of these other people. Never say never, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything, like Sasha, Mercedes, she could talk all this shit. She could take jabs. If she comes back, she's gonna come back. Never say never. Like that's the thing. Like Ronda taking all these shots. If 10 years from now she want to come back, whatever, they'll find a way to come back.
Yeah, like I said, it's business, so that's what it should be at the end. Like you're not gonna have emotions in it. Like if anybody would have emotions, it would be CM Punk, and he's back. So speaking of CM Punk,
go ahead.
That goes to my last book of wrestling, which this doesn't need a explanation at all. But like we know even the famous picture of CM Punk winning at Money in the Bank 2011 when he walks out of the company WWE champion, beating John Cena, smiling like this, holding his holding the title up with the crowd. So yeah, another
so like how they say like Seth Rollins has like the biggest heist in WrestleMania wrestling history. Like, where would you put this? Where would you put this up? Because like, I would say the heist. Him winning this, he was leaving.
Yeah, I would say the heist knocked that off. I would say that this would be the heist until the heist came. Because this was afterwards.
Oh, so you said Seth knocks this off.
Yes. I would think.
Interesting.
Because it does have him leaving the company, but also we're smart wrestling fans at this point in time. So I'm like, they're gonna have another belt next week. Like, obviously you're gonna let it breathe, let it feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh no, what is WWE gonna do? So that's why it's like, I just thought
you can't suspend your disbelief that
way. Exactly. It's like, I think that was his Cody moment. You know what I'm saying? Like Cody, he finished his story because he was right about Vince. He's right about WWE, and he leaves champion. He was right, and so that was the best way he could have done it. And then heist of the century that comes in.
That's crazy.
I wouldn't say
Mania. That's the main event. Brock versus Roman.
Yeah.
And all you hear is the Seth music go off, and he's running. He's like and then like the whole scene where he's swinging the belt at the end of the. That's my joint right there. Mm-hmm. I love that shit.
Yeah. But that's the only way you would make it bigger, only location. Because that's one of the matches for sure that like adds to like what you would say, like the ethos of, Money in the Bank, how it has become. Because I had this conversation with you before. Is it like a big four? And I believe, because you said that you had it in front of Survivor Series. So I was like, nobody really cares about Survivor Series. Because I had it, I called it a B list or a B tier pay-per-view because it's technically not a big four. However, I do agree that it's bigger than Survivor Series. So you might as well, if you want to switch those out, that's fine. But this is one of those moments that makes it that. And that's what I had. Last thought, this is about the book of wrestling, but the segment itself, production note. When when the music comes in, we should still just have those sketches, those old timey sketches, just use that for them. That's what we should do. Yeah. We'll just use the sketches for the intro, like when you play.
We'll ask LA to make another like a book of wrestling kind of little intro little thing too. So that's a good one. And I think one of us can have a monocle, maybe because I got glasses.
Yeah. Okay.
Give me a monocle.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. We are making some pretty good time. This is what happens when we don't have much news. There was one news I want to get into. I don't know what day it came out, but there was a
Mhm.
tag team that was signed by WWE. I think it's called like
Motor
Motor
City Machine
City.
Guns. Motor City
Yeah, yeah,
Machine
yeah.
Guns. Yep.
Are you familiar with them? I don't know much of them.
Yeah, they're like AJ Styles in the sense that they were holding TNA down. They're the fucking basically the Hardys. They're the Hardys of TNA. That's the best way to describe them. Multiple time X Division champions, which is their cruiserweight between both of them. I'm pretty sure they have both have held the TNA or Impact World title at some point in time. So yeah, they're like day ones for TNA. They've been wrestling for 20 years, whatever it is.
All right.
But yeah,
Are they
they're
like
great.
our age, or are they like
They're older.
a little older? Okay.
Yeah, I would say probably AJ's age. If I had to guess, maybe slightly younger than him. AJ's
Early 40s, probably.
yeah, probably early 40s, I'd guess. But yeah, they're dope. So
No, I'll probably see them in a feud with the OC. Not too short.
their hand sign is this. They do this because they're from Detroit, and Detroit. This is just Michigan. So machine guns. Yeah.
I like that. That's clever.
Yeah.
That's clever. I never thought that. Yeah, the hand does look like Michigan.
Yeah.
That's clever. That's clever. All right, let's get to our final stop on this avenue because we don't have a pop-up this week, at least that I don't know of. So we are finally at the SmackDown boutique. I'll just say off the top, like SmackDown was pretty much like last week. A lot of shake. Though I will say, like, if there's anything that probably stood out to me is Logan Paul, LA Knight. I put that in my mid trending up. I'm interested to see that match, but it's also like they need to get that US title off of Logan Paul and actually like have it on TV and be defended. Like it kind of gets to my issue with some of the storytelling, and I'll also put this on the wide six aspect, and not so much the wide six. There's too much things that feel like the story is more meant for marketing and commoditizing something rather than actually telling a story. Like, there's no reason for Pat McAfee to be involved. Absolutely no reason. None of this stuff should be happening on the Pat McAfee show. None. Other than the fact that he brings in millions of viewers, it's on ESPN and all this other BS. But he has nothing to do with it. Like, the thing is, like, I can understand back in the day when it was King and JR, right? King is the color. He's back there, right? So you can understand that, like, he might find some type of rumor or gossip. Pat's not doing that. Pat is literally flying in from Indianapolis to wherever the hell they are this week. And so, like, it just feels, it doesn't feel natural. It feels you're just using this as a vehicle to make money.
Shameless.
And I'm like, okay, there's you can all of this is to make money, but then there's an aspect of it's like this is literally like when you can see the business decisions behind it, it's no longer a store anymore. Okay, Pat McAfee is absolutely unnecessary to any of the Wyatt Six. And if they eventually make him necessary, I think that's horseshit too. Like, anytime they use Pat, I'm just like, you're just using it because of who the fuck he is. And not actually because, like,
he's part of the story.
He's part of the story. And so that's the kind of same way with, like, Logan. At least Logan is actually, like, fighting. And, like, there's a little bit more story to it. But, again, the belt is what we called it when he first got it. It's a toy for him to go out and do an interview with Donald Trump. You know, it's a prop to put in front of his thousands of millions of 18 and under fans to be like, oh, look, and here's a Prime drink.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just like to sell you something and just more for outreach rather than to tell you a story. So nothing against like Logan Paul as the wrestler, even in the act as like the actual like character, as far as like him interacting, like I think he does a pretty good job. But if you're gonna be here, you gotta be here. And at least with Roman, there's a little bit of like a built-in excuse of like, why you not here? Well, I'm the champ, dog. I am the house.
Yeah, I earned it.
You know what I'm saying? Like Logan is just like, I'm a Hollywood superstar. Blah blah. I'm like, bro, like it's cool, but like I'm gonna need that title to be put up on like LA Knight. So
Yeah.
it's trending mid, but again, like I'm gonna be tight which most likely LA Knight's not gonna win.
No way. Logan
Paul's from Cleveland. SummerSlam's in
Yeah,
Cleveland.
yeah.
And we
Yeah,
know
true.
hometown people lose at home. So like things are lining up for LA Knight to win. But
Mhm.
don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. What's his brother's name? Jake?
Jake, yeah.
Does he got to fight that weekend?
Maybe that's a possibility.
If he doesn't, don't be surprised if another Paul
like
comes out with the
interference.
brass knucks.
Yeah.
Comes out with the brass knucks and knocks somebody out. I'm probably not even brass knucks because he's a boxer, but don't be surprised if Jake Paul come out and knock out LA Knight.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the thing that stood out most to me on SmackDown. I'll let you take control.
Man, SmackDown was good. I liked it. Let's see. There you go. All right, yeah. For my primo, this is the best thing on the card. Andrade versus Carmelo in a Just Cuz match. And I just called it a Just Cuz match because it's one of those where it's like, oh yeah, go out there and give us 20 Just Cuz.
Yeah.
Because once again, that's how deep the roster is. And it's like, this is fucking great. Just watching these guys, like, once again, I mean, I love Andrade's moveset. You know, that step through fucking spinning elbow. That's like every time he hits that.
Looks deadly every time. I'm like, yo.
Yeah. Fucking even, you know, or Andrade taking Carmelo's offense seamlessly. Not to say that it's like complicated or anything, but just, you know, it's their first time. Like we've seen them work together on TV. And it's like, you know, they have been working together with, you know, multiple matches in a row or something, you know, they're perfectly in tune with each other. So great match. Because of who was in it, I didn't know who was going to win, but there is a pretty exciting sequence where it goes counter for counter for counter into, you know, the message that, you know, Andrade hits on Carmelo for the win. And probably the best time I've ever seen him hit that, it's that double underhook. He like lifts you up and then like it just spins into a neck breaker, so to speak. Probably, the most impactful, but that also goes to Carmelo because he's a smaller, agile guy. I think it's the same situation where we were talking about like when you're wrestling like Kaylani Jordan or something, like, you know, she unlocks all of your offense. You know, or Zelina, that's what it was. We were talking about. Yeah. So I think that's really
Sane. That was what it was. Kairi Sane.
Oh, Kairi Sane, yeah, because it was that tag team match. Yeah. It was like, oh yeah, this is Jade's dream to work with her right now. But yeah, that was the best thing on the show in match form. Best thing on the show, promo-wise, was Solo's new Bloodline promo, which was very like mobster tinted. Obviously, it does seem more like a crime boss for him, or he's leaning into that. You know, even just like the lighting of it. You know, it's similar lighting to like his entrance when he comes out, when it's just the spotlights behind them. So his face is like all enshrouded in darkness and stuff. And just saying how Roman's not coming back and like, y'all see what happened to Cody for not acknowledging me. Y'all see what happened to anybody who doesn't acknowledge me, basically. And basically nobody, the quote was, it better be a handicap match tonight because anybody who stands with Cody is standing against me, which is standing against the bloodline, which is standing against my family, which we can't have that, obviously. So that promo was really good. That's also obviously clipped up on WWE's YouTube. It's only like a minute 50, I think, or like a minute 30. And that leads us into their main event, which was A-Town Down Under versus Cody and Kevin Owens, because this is what the issue was that Solo was talking about. Like, he didn't want nobody tagging with him. He was like, let A-Town Down beat his ass down. You know what I'm saying? but he sees KO in the back. You know, KO don't give a fuck. He's like, man, fuck these niggas, dog. Like, they already beat my ass multiple times. I don't care. I'm with the smoke. So, but of course, you asked for it, you're gonna get it. So it went exactly how you would imagine. Solo, or not even just Solo, really Jacob. You know, he's the enforcer. He wreaks havoc, and I think that's the best usage of like the enforcer that we've seen so far these last 2 weeks. Like when he came in and took out DIY by his damn self, like cleared the ring, it was like, that's an enforcer. He basically did like the same thing here and ends it with another shield bomb or triple power bomb through the table for Kevin Owens this time. So yeah, that was great. How you feel about Solo acknowledging him? I'm like, and this is obviously, we're saying, I want your answer in kayfabe fan, right? Yeah, how you feel about Solo as tribal chief right now?
I feel like he is not a one-to-one comparison. I feel like he's Aegon Targaryen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
It's like, you telling us that you king. You ain't moving like a king. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I do think there's a little bit of like, yeah, Roman's not here. You say he's not coming back. Is he not coming back? Like you. There's a lot of talk and bravado that, like, okay, but you know, and Nick, you know, you're not gonna say it in front of him. But I bet you everybody in the back is like, look at this little Walmart ass, you know, Kirkland ass, goddamn head of the table. You Kirkland. He Kirkland right now. He ain't the actual name brand.
That's crazy.
So that's where, and again, I'm keeping it kayfabe. That's where I'm like, I'm like, that's where it's like, yeah, you did this. Again, you beat Cody, you pinned him. A lot of shenanigans involved to get to that point. You talking about Roman not coming back, and this is this, that, and the third. And basically, he's like, it's not going to be true until he take down Roman.
Yeah, until he does, I'm like, I'm right there where I'm like, I think I'm acknowledging him, bro. Because
I'm acknowledging him in public and behind, I'm like, man,
no, see, that's what you gotta say, because it's like, I'm like, bro, he's putting people through tables on the weekly basis. Like, people are getting moonsaulted on by Jacob Fatu on the weekly basis. I'm like, bro, like, you got it, Solo. That's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah, that dude's Debo. He'd be like, shut the fuck up. I'll be quiet. So when he leave, I'll be talking again. That's literally how I feel like.
That's what you got to say then.
That's how he Debo.
Because I was like, yo, ain't no way in hell I would ever disrespect him in front of Jacob. Are you fucking kidding me? You better raise that goddamn one up.
I'm saying, like, if that's the same, if they both in me and like I'm red, and Debo coming up talking about give me your chain, he taking the chain.
Oh yeah, facts. Nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. But yeah, when he leave, I'm talking about shit. Oh, Solo talk about he run shit. Man, he don't run no nothing.
All right. don't blame him.
That's in the privacy of my own space. That's what I'm saying. I say that in the privacy of my own. I got comfort and security around that, knowing none of that bad shit's gonna be happening to me. So again, if we in public and they come across, yo, tribal chief, how you doing? Now, but what happens? What happens if you just so happen to see like Roman and Solo like consecutively? Who you calling chief?
Like,
what about Solo was coming to the left and then Roman was coming to the right, and you're in the middle, and you got to acknowledge somebody.
Yeah, I got to salute one of you. That's what you're saying, basically. Immediately, the correct answer is not to answer, because I would hope that they just start beefing immediately and y'all can figure that out.
Like Homer Simpson just diving back into the bushes.
Yeah, that's what I would be. That's the correct answer, is that I'm not walking on that path between them. So, but gun to my head at this point in time, yeah, Solo's got it. I'd give it to Solo because
you gonna say that in front of Roman. Okay.
Because Roman's by himself right now. He ain't got a Jacob Fatu next to him. That's my point. It's like, you got it, Solo.
Okay.
But yeah, and the last thing, that this was actually a shake for my SmackDown, but it was all part of this same segment, is that I love New Bloodline. You know what I'm saying? At least as far as an act, like, they're really over with me. Obviously, they're more vicious and like unhinged, and maybe you shouldn't acknowledge them, maybe you should, but it's working for me regardless. But Tonga Loa has yet to like carry his weight, in my opinion, on screen. And it's unfortunate because the two spots that he's had previous to this, he's like missed the low blow on Cody twice, and he missed his timing on his debut. And as we're standing at the end of this segment, the show is going off. Like, I see Solo, I see Tama Tonga, and I see Jacob Fatu all holding up the ones. And in my head, I literally go, I'm like, where's Tonga Loa at? And here comes his halfway dazed ass. I guess he's selling that he got poked in the eye or something before. And he just goes like this, and he's the last one in the back. And I'm like, bruh, step your shit up, man. Like, he needs to be checked. Like, seriously, like, within the bloodline. Like, get your shit together. Like, I don't know. That's just what I got.
It might be a little storyline brewing up there. People got to pull their weight up.
Yeah. And you're lucky that I was gonna say also, yeah, you can say whatever you want behind Solo's back, because you're lucky his bloodline is still incomplete because he ain't got no wise man. His wise man would be able to sniff that up out of your ass or anybody else talking shit about Solo. So you're right, you can probably get away with that for now.
Yeah. We'll figure out. I wonder who his wise man would be if he had one.
I know. I got a candidate right now, and it's who we've been asking for the entire time. It's Rikishi. Because that hits the hardest.
It's gonna be Rikishi too.
It's Rikishi. Because that's his father, but that's also, the Usos brother. So it's like, come on now. Come on.
All right. Any more thoughts on at the boutique?
Yeah, lastly, we're gonna give love to our women. The most devastating move in sports entertainment strikes again. Michin is able to roll up Tiffany Stratton.
She gotta win.
Yeah, she did, but it just makes me concerned, and like, I ain't gonna Wrestle Talk be putting shit in my head that I be trying to ignore sometimes, but like, they put it in the back of my head where it's like, oh yeah, historically, like, when you win Money in the Bank, like, you go on a losing streak.
You're taking some L's, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, that's right, that does happen, doesn't it? But
she has an enforcer though. She has an enforcer though. That's also the thing as well. Well, it's an enforcer for as long as Nia is willing to play along.
Exactly. A frenemy. That's a very tenuous relationship. It's not like they're besties. But that and the combination of that whole segment of like, Bayley interfering and destroying the money in the bank briefcase, which I just was confused by that, just because obviously we understand that it's a prop, right? It's supposed to like contain a contract.
Yeah. So
in my head, I'm like, all right, well, that still doesn't change anything because, the contract is still there. Like, you're destroying the briefcase doesn't destroy the contract. But what threw me off was the fact when Bayley is laying into it, she's stomping on it and all this stuff, and that's what distracts, Tiffany, and that's what lets, Michin roll her up. She gets it open. There's no contract in there. And I was like, you should at least have the contract in there for my kayfabe. This is my kayfabe fan paranoia.
That's the thing. We see what a WWE contract signing looks like, right?
Yeah.
It's like 3 sheets of pieces of paper, and then they like flip it over, and then they scribble their bullshit, and so it's like, and if in kayfabe, what is in that briefcase? Just like 3 sheets of paper stapled together,
and they're pre-signed.
You got lunch in there too. Like, what is it?
Yeah, I've always pictured, I'm not even joking, like, I've always thought of the Money in the Bank briefcase contract as either 1 page or like just a simple like 3-pager, like you're saying, like at the contract signings, and it's just already signed by the GM, whoever the GM is at that time. So it's like, because then it's like getting married, because I've been married before. It's like, yeah, you have the whole ceremony and stuff, but it's already pre-signed by the pastor, and you just go sign those documents that make you legally married, like after the recession and everything, or, in between time frame, basically.
Yeah.
So that's how I've always viewed it. It's like, oh, you can cash it in and you just sign the contract later because you already had it guaranteed. But when she opened it up and I'm like, there ain't shit in there, I'm like, well, how am I supposed to believe this? How am I, like, where is the contract?
The briefcase itself is the contract.
No, it's not. No, it's a briefcase. This is my case. Like, it was originally, no, because when Edge won it the first time at WrestleMania, it was a goddamn contract. So I want to see my contract. That's my point. So that's the only reason.
We got to find the legal print on that too.
Exactly. There's no fucking legal doctrine on like, oh, this thing means, because if that's the case, anybody else could just steal it because people have stolen it before. And if that's the case, I can just cash it in when it's stolen. That's not the case. There must be legal jargon. There must be a contract and signatures.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I had for SmackDown.
Obviously, it's just a way to get her bedazzled briefcase.
True. Because it is.
She already talked about like, oh, I'm going to bedazzle this. I'm about to make it pink and all that stuff. So.
Pink and white. Come on, I'm ready for it.
We about to get the Barbie briefcase.
Mm-hmm. Yo, you want to know, before we get to the last thing, you remember who one of my favorites briefcases was Damian Sandow. You remember his briefcase when he had that like leather, like old-timey briefcase?
No.
Oh, yeah. That's one of my favorites because it was like just a legit briefcase. And I'm like, that's fire. Like, he's like a businessman. Like, it had like the stitching on it and everything. And I was like,
I would like to see like Daniel Bryan when he was like the People's Earth champion.
Oh yeah,
like, that gimmick. If he had like a wooden briefcase.
Yeah. Oh, you know what it would be? It would be like moss. It would be like covered in like real live moss and like cedar planks and shit like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, so you get like a gardening edger. You know what I'm saying? Like, cut it in your lawn, and it says money in the bank. That's how you do it.
Or you remember like when we were in Vegas, right? And we saw that like flower like exhibition in the hotel. I think it was like Caesars.
Oh yeah.
If the briefcase was made out of like flowers like that, that'd be dope.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
That'd be dope. Any more thoughts at the boutique before we wrap up this show?
I guess one last thing, just because of the Bleacher Report article, they did remind me. Yeah, KO's mom really was struggling with like, I don't know, I don't want to put a name on it, but she was very sick. And that's why I was surprised for him to even show up. Like because Cody really didn't know the whole episode of like, oh shit, who's gonna be my partner? And then KO, he literally just walks up next to him in the parking lot. And he's taping his wrist up already. He's like, fuck it, let's go. Yeah. So it's great that his mom is doing great because like you said before, it's like, oh, they're a wrestling family. I didn't realize that. And that like, his mom would be cool with him like using that in kayfabe. So I thought it was nice to see, just a post from her and stuff. They have that in the Bleacher Report.
Yeah, that actually leans into my champion of the week. I'll give it to, I don't have the actual title. I'll come up with the title after the episode. Yeah, that's fine. Title goes to Kevin Owens, and obviously Kevin Owens' mom. I saw the tweet that he posted out that she kicked out. I don't know exactly what was going on, but I remember there was issues. I feel like they had mentioned it a couple weeks ago. I feel like that she was, not going to be at the event or whatever it may be. So, glad to see that she's doing well and Kevin is, doing well, and everything's on the up with that. So shout out Mama Owens. I'm glad the advice that you gave to your son, you was able to use for yourself and keep fighting. So shout out Mama Owens. You're the champion of the week.
For sure. I really like that. Strong woman, don't know her, but rooting for her.
Yeah.
So we'll end on a lighthearted note for sure. Because my champion of the week took me completely out of a segment. It's the Black Twitter. What are those? Belt is going to Ludwig Kaiser. So obviously you've seen the Wyatt Six, when they beat down, when they showed up after Bo Dallas was beat down by the Creeds. Yeah.
Kaiser or Creed?
Oh, Creed. Excuse me. Yeah. I was thinking Ludwig Kaiser. Holy shit. Yeah, I just fused them two together in my head. Sorry about that. Julius Creed, the taller of the two brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the What Are Those belt is going to Julius Creed for I don't know what the fuck. Like seriously. But if you look at a minute 2, that's the perfect freeze frame of that YouTube video that I put in there. But he got on some cheetah print with navy blue, like toe coloring. What is that? What is that, bro? Like, because there's no way you're telling me.
Those are bowling shoes.
Bro, I feel like as many times as we've seen Jordans, we've seen Air Maxes on TV. We've seen, you can wear whatever the fuck you want. Most of the time, obviously, it's wrestling.
You know what those are? Those are fucking put on the shelves one.
Exactly. Like, bro, he got these goddamn Jaguar print fucking, I don't even know, like, but it seriously took me out where I'm like, okay, they beating down Bo Dallas, and I'm like wondering if Alco Howdy's coming in all this shit. He's laughing, and I'm like, hold on, what is this? Nah, bro, I can't. Like, if I was to walk past Julius Creed on the street, he's getting hit with the What Are Those for sure. Like it's 2014 all over again.
It just shows that like they don't dress like this on normal, because have you ever seen them in a suit?
But they're heels. That's why I know you'll agree with that because you pointed that out to me. It's like you want a heel, put him in a suit. So it's like that's the same thing that I thought. It's like this is the first time we've ever even seen him in a suit, and it's obviously just because Chad is. But because a suit is so monochromatic, it's all one color. Your shoes pop, and that popped horribly. I don't know what the fuck he thought was. I don't know if he thought those was fly or what, but I'm like, nah, bro.
Okay, those look like bowling shoes, and like maybe the shoes got lost in shipping. Like maybe the actual dress shoes that he had, like maybe something happened to him. Maybe like he lost them, and they had to find something else to put on his feet.
Bro, but yeah, that's my champion of the week. Get the fuck out of here.
I do want to ask one question about the Creed brothers aligning with Gable, because we saw a couple weeks ago, before they had aligned, almost like not even a couple weeks, almost like a month or two ago. Ivy Nile is cool with Maxine. Like Ivy was saying, like, "Yo, why are you with this dude that treats you bad and treats all of you guys like crap and stuff like that? You guys should stand up for yourself and have some self-respect." Is Ivy part of this? Like, I guess where's Ivy? I'm curious on like where the Ivy Nile Maxine goes. No one is probably checking for that. Maybe they forgot that moment, and maybe Ivy just turns heel. But it seems like there could be some, interactions to kind of like storytelling that could play out between like Maxine and Ivy Nile and their friendship, and then maybe that gives some Ivy Nile, some character development for her to like actually like turn heel and show some kind of character growth.
I got one for you, the easy traditional one. Make them a tag team, because I don't see Ivy Nile as far as like once they team up. What's the Creeds team up with Chad Gable? I don't see Ivy Nile being a part of that, because
why is she leaving the Creed? She's been with the Creed since Diamond Mine.
Well, because of the simple kayfabe math of like heels hang with heels, and we just accept that. And like when we have the random baby face that comes out for the save, even though we haven't seen that you have a relationship, we just believe that because you know what I'm saying? So that's where I see it. It's just like they just want us to forget about it. And it's like, I mean, granted, Ivy Nile isn't getting like the most TV time anyway. So it's like you keep her off and let her pop back up. She's like nice enough. You know what I'm saying? I could see that easily for Maxine and Ivy to be a tag team, like help coach her up, whatever.
Yeah. Well, that was my final thoughts. But you have any final thoughts before we head out? We are literally a minute. We got less than a minute before we hit 2 hours, or 2 minutes. No, we got a minute.
1 minute.
Before we hit an hour. So let's try to get this actually under 2 hours. You got any final thoughts before we head out?
I'm actually good. We cleared that up. We cleared that up nice and clean.
Yeah, I'm good too. I think this was a pretty good episode. Pretty smooth, streamlined. Like I said, dog days of summer, but that's what happens.
We're going to forget, like, watch when we get off of here. I'm going to look it up, but AEW Blood and Guts is going to be this weekend. Watch that. I'm going to go ahead and call it.
There's too many pop-ups. There's like one every week. So
Yeah.
we'll make it up next
I
week.
don't think so, but yeah.
We'll make it up. We'll make it up. But that's me, Samson, the Habasha Hayes.
Moody, the French fried fro.
And you're going to catch us next week at Wrestling Re-Up. Peace.